Good.
Awesome, awesome. Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. Good evening. Good evening, you guys. As everybody's starting to plug in and tap in, you guys. Happy Tuesday night training, y'all, all across the US. And guys, listen, real quick, check and see who's on. Invite your teammates, send out those last minute texts, you guys, because we have somebody special in store for you guys tonight. But hey, listen, I'm excited to introduce our first starting up as well too. The incredible, the amazing Coach Mike is going to go over the announcements with you guys, the incentives, things that are happening within the company. So, Coach Mike, I'm going to have you take it away.
All right, all right. Happy Tuesday night training, or like Coach Jerrelle like to say, Happy Taco Tuesday. We're ready to get this kicked off for our Escape to Paradise June. These are announcements for June. Let's go. So this is a huge thing. Coach been talking about this, and I've been dropping it in Telegram. We've been talking about this. It's 1 by 1,000 gets you 200,000 bonus points, not 20,000, but 200,000 bonus points, right? And we've been looking, and that gets you pretty much right on point for the trip. So 1 by 1,000, and then also 1 by 10,000 for securities buying. Definitely want to get the reset for this. Why you want to get the reset? You see all the swimming with the turtles, the nice food that I like food. That food looks amazing there. But it's going to be at the Grand Hyatt Baha Mar. You know how I say Baha Mar in Nassau, Bahamas. And the dates are March 1st through the 4th or the 4th through the 7th next year. And like Coach Kia says, just mark out from the 1st to the 7th. Just mark that out right now. Also, field training bonuses. This is why it's so important to get field trained, right? Soon as you join the business, within 24 hours, you submitting your IBA, you get $50 banked in your field training bonus. Also, when you complete pre-licensing class within 30 days of your IBA, you also get another $50 banked. So where else do you start a business for 124 and get banked $100 just doing the things you need to do? All right, more field training bonus. So those of you, this is the first time I ever seen this. Okay, complete your pre-licensing class, IDU, right? Field training bonuses recruit to do this, right? I thought this was the reset, my bad. So field training bonuses bank credits are restored. Yeah, this is the first time I've seen this. So you think you may have been behind and thought you missed it. This time it can get restored, banking up to by 1,000 in field training, okay? And where do you find this? It's a NPOL. It says to mentor and track your recruits. You can see the eligibility to those that were still within that time frame and can get that bonus that I was just talking about. Like I always say, everything is right on POL. Can always ask your trains for this. So let me clear this up for this here. New qualification period for the future starts now. This is the future RVP jersey. So the top 150 people qualifying, they get that jersey. And you get the jersey because if you're in the top 150, you would probably win in that trip as well. So you get the jersey to be awarded to you at the Baha Mar. Oh, my bad. And it has to be 1,000 personal in premium just to qualify. Also, 2026, okay, securities license blitz, you get $1,000 bonus win. What do you have to do? You have to pass the required exams, SIE, the Series 6 and the 6.3 if needed, and write 1,000 in securities production within the 90 days of being licensed, and you get that $1,000 bonus. That's awesome, y'all. It pays to get securities license. Midwestern Builder School is October 16th through the 17th. If you missed the last one, you missed a treat. It's Zoom is cool, but to really come together and link arms with people and build, and then hear from great leaders like Asada Lois Faraj, Jerry and Rhonda Byer, and also, this is and I see Seagrave is back too. You want to get your tickets, right? This is October 16th and the 17th in Michigan there, and you definitely want to be there, okay? The recognition period is from October 15th, April 15th through September 15th. What that means, through that time period, any promotions, any licensing guy, in order to be recognized at Builder School, have to be done within that period. All right, I'm ready now. So tonight, we have a special guest with us. We have NSD, Josh and Sarah Christian. Josh is coming today talking about mental toughness, talking ownership and promoting. Man, this is such a treat. It's always a pleasure to hear from him. So I'm excited about that tonight. But before we get to him, next we have our very own regional leader, my cousin, Coach Kia Fry.
All right, listen, I'm excited. Y'all excited? Listen, tell your face that you're excited, right? Okay. So we can't have Josh come on here and not know or hear or feel the Fearless Hustlers energy, right? So, when your parents often tell you when the guests are here, right? Be on your best behavior. So that's what we're going to do tonight, right? We're going to make sure that we are on our best behavior. And so, with that being said, I need someone to come on and let Josh know, what is the Fearless Hustlers culture? What do we do? Who are we? Come off mute.
We are a unit, we are one, and iron sharpens iron, baby.
That's right. That's right. Thanks so much, Jen. Absolutely. And so with that, we've been talking about mental toughness. We continue to do that. Josh is going to hit on that tonight, so I'm not going to overdo that. But what I want to make sure of is there's some key nuggets that we continue to hear and take note of, right? And so with that, there was a challenge that we had, right, from last week. Who can tell me what that challenge was?
We had 7 days straight of social media, just posting, doing your DMs, this social media. I call it social media blitz. That's what I call it.
A social media blitz. Absolutely. And so with that, what was the purpose of us doing our social media blitz?
Just basically getting us more engaged with people within our friends list. Getting out there, posting so people can see us, and then getting in just interaction, commenting on, liking, commenting on other people's posts like that. Things that we should do every day, but it's kind of get us a kickoff to build a lifestyle of doing that. That's what I got out of it.
Got you. And so from the group that's here, how many people actually did the challenge? Tina, you did the challenge? Jackie, Coach Jerrelle, Coach Mike, okay. And so we had that, right? But we also have been doing our I am statements. How many people got those done and have been listening to them on a consistent basis? Coach Jerrelle, Coach Mike. Y'all still haven't gotten it done, huh? Okay. And so with that, before we go into our next point, I want to be able to share a quick video. And then we'll go over what happened during the challenge, what results did we get, and what did we learn, okay? So, having this on gallery view, baby, okay. So let me share, and there we go.
I'm gonna keep it funky with you.
Y'all hear okay?
If it don't cost you, it won't change you. See, most people want information because it's free and it feels good. But information doesn't change your life. Transformation costs something. It costs your habits. It costs your fake identity. It costs your comfort. And if you're not willing to pay that price, you'll keep collecting knowledge and staying the same. You know, this work is for those who are ready to reorganize their lives around truth. This ain't self-help. This is self-mastery.
Got it. So, what's my famous question? Why did I show you that video? Mike, you can come off mute.
I'm trying to give somebody else a chance. You were just showing us that video is just about something for mindset. And really, like you said, if it didn't cost you anything, it won't change you. So there's some nugget in there that you want us to get about our mindset about a cost, the cost to pay to get your goals and your dreams.
Coach Jackie?
Honestly, Mike took exactly what I was going to say right out of my mouth. So, not much to add to it.
Right. So, what's he saying about information? What is that good for?
You can collect all the information, but you have to put it into action. You have to act on it. You can't just collect the knowledge and have it. You have to find a way to make that knowledge work for you.
Absolutely, right? So the whole thing, thanks, Jen. So the whole thing is, you know, a lot of times we want all the information and we think the information is enough. But information means nothing if we're not willing to pay the cost and do what's necessary in order to become a different person, right? And so whatever it is that you're looking to change, it comes with a cost. We have to do the work. And the work sometimes is ugly, right? Looking in your mirror, looking at yourself, and looking at what you want to change is the dirty work, right? And so many times we don't want to do that. We just want everything that comes on the other end. That's the same as when we start this business. We think that we come in, we sign our IBA, and then, you know, we are a millionaire. But it doesn't work like that, right? We have to do the work in order to be able to reap the benefits, right? That's when we get results. When we do it consistently over and over again. And we don't always have the answers in the beginning. And that's why it's a little tough because we have to become a different person. We have to become the person that we want to be, right? So with that, we did a social media challenge, right? We had 7 days. And regardless if you're great at social media or not, the one thing that Coach Jackie just wanted us to be able to see is like, put yourself out there, get uncomfortable, be vulnerable, and just share. And so I took that on and said, okay, I'm going to do that for the full 7 days. And so Mike engaged with conversation with me because I know that you did this as well. And so with that, one of the things that I saw and I learned is like, people are always watching, even when we think that they're not. And how does anyone know that you're in business or even know who you are if you aren't being visible? And so, one of the things that I did was, as I was just out and about doing something that I love doing anyway, our school was being demolished and they had all the alumni come for a photo shoot. So during that last photo shoot, one of the things that I did was went live. Most people go live anyway, right? So I went live because I needed to have a post for our 7 day challenge. And I was sharing what it was that I was up to. People are nosy. Everybody wants to know what's going on in your life, right? And so from that, Facebook turned around and said, we want you to have a professional page because in the last 7 days, I had 11,000 views, which is up 15 times. I had engagement of like over 600%, like up 600%. And the post that I just posted today, about 45 minutes ago, already has 224 views, right? So coaches give assignments for reasons. It's not just to give you busy work, right? And so from that, we get to learn about ourselves. We get to challenge ourselves. But Mike, what's something that you learned from doing a 7-day challenge?
One of the things I learned as I was responding in the DMs is that people really want to hear, they want more, want me to do more, talk more about financial services, talk more about just inspiration or whatever. They were just like, we just want to see you more. Like you said, there's people watching that I didn't know was watching, and so that's one of the things I learned from that. And also, from the 7-day challenge, what I noticed is that when you give challenges, Coach Jerrelle, Coach Jackie give challenges, it's something that we should be doing daily with our business. So that's my takeaway from it. After the 7 days, let me continue this.
Absolutely. So it's the start of a continuation that will allow you to develop a habit of being able to do it. And that's one of the things that I got as well. But even more importantly than that, Josh, believe it or not, people started following me. Go figure. I made connections. And because I was out and about in the community, I got connections as well because someone's like, hey, we're here. Why don't we stay connected? Absolutely. We exchanged information, right? So now that's somebody else that I can add to the list that I can start to build relationships with. So, with that being said, it's all about following through. We can come on trainings all day, we can gather up all of the information, but if we don't start applying this, we will be in the same spot that we are today, 5 days, a month, a year down the line. And the whole point is to grow. Otherwise, why else are we here? Right. And so, with that, that's my time. I wanted to keep it real short and simple and sweet because I want Mr. Christian to have all of his time. Listen, I have to introduce Josh simply because I was the first person that he met when he came into the business because I was greeting at the door. That was one of the things that we did when we met in person, right? We had greeters and I was able to meet Josh. Now at that time, all I was doing was just being me. So I didn't know who Josh was, and Josh didn't know who I was. But first impressions are everything because he always says that story. So Josh has one of the most balanced businesses that I know and can speak of, right? And so with that, he's a national sales director. He and his wife has a wonderful business making $370,000 a year right now, Josh, right? And they have beautiful children. And so, with that, take out your pens and your pads. Make sure you're taking notes. But let's give a warm welcome to Josh and Sarah Christian. Go ahead, Josh, take it away.
All right, Kia, excited to be on here with you guys. Excited to be on with Jerrelle, Jackie, the whole team. I mean, Mike, awesome job on those announcements. I love seeing people step up into the leadership roles. And Kia's right. She was the first person. I remember walking in. And y'all, I don't know if any of you guys feel this way when you come into the Primerica environment, but it's kind of weird. I'm like, this is different. Everybody's happy and they're talking about their goals and whatnot. And it's like a big hodgepodge of people. They're all from different backgrounds. And so when I came in there, it's like this building that's above a tire shop. And I'm like, okay, this can't be right. There's just no way. I meet this guy. I was teaching a concealed carry class. He calls me, recruits me, and then invites me to an office. And I'm like, okay, I thought we were selling insurance, but sure. You got to come to this training. So I come to the training and I'm walking up the stairs and there's like music playing. And I'm like, what in the world did I get myself into? What is this? I'm a police detective, I'm like, like no, like, don't touch me, that kind of thing. And I get in, and Kia's there, and Kia's like the happiest human being on the planet, the most welcoming. And you just couldn't help but like fall in love right away with the environment and fall in love with the people and what we do. And I remember looking around though, Jerrelle, at that office, and I thought, man, if this guy at the time, the guy that recruited me was making $400,000 a year, I said, if this guy is making $400,000 a year in this, I am going to kill this thing. That was my thought. I'm like, I am going to kill this thing. Now, it took me a little bit, but we got it down and we got it figured out. And I just believed in the business right away. And I love what we do. I love what we stand for. But guys, it's a business. At the end of the day, it is a business. And what these guys are teaching you right now, what Jerrelle and Jackie are, kind of giving you as homework assignments, there's a reason for it. As I was listening, there really is, because it's getting you to take action, right? Is one of the big things. Kia said it there. She said, I started doing these things on social media, and wouldn't you know it, people started to follow me. I have this couple that's been with me for years. Years they've been with me. And they're this sort of like on again, off again, like they start working and then they stop working, and then they're like, okay, we're ready to do it. And every time they're like, okay, we're gonna go get names and numbers. And they go do it, and then they're like, hey, we recruited somebody. We did a sale. I'm like, mind blown. I'm like, wait a minute, you talk to people and you got a sale, like, so you helped somebody, you made money? They're like, yeah, we did. I was like, that's incredible. You guys should continue to do that. And then a few weeks later, they don't. And so consistency is so important, and taking action when you feel like it, when you don't feel like it. The social media thing is really important. And you guys, I don't care if you feel like social media is your thing or not, you got to find a way to get in front of people. I think attraction marketing is smart. I think it's a good idea. People are on social media, they're watching, they want to see what's going on. So learning how to utilize it, study it, right? Don't just be a person that goes and uses social media, but study it. Study how to use, whether it's Facebook or TikTok or whatever the thing is that you use, and treat it like a professional. That's really what I want to talk to you guys a lot about tonight, is treating this business like a professional. I was just talking with one of our VPs today, and he was looking up some stats on the thousands of people that earn over $100,000 or more a year in our business. It's incredible. If you could see the people that win in our business, it's wild. So there's no reason you shouldn't win here. There's no reason you shouldn't earn a six-figure income. There's really, with the resources that we have, in the industry that we have, with the company that's backing you, there's just no reason not to, unless you don't do the work, unless you don't become a professional, right? I loved, and I'm going to kind of recap just a few things here. I loved this. You guys have this sort of, like, I don't know if you call it a motto or a creed or whatever. What that's doing is it's building culture. And what it's doing is it's saying something about your identity. These are the things that we represent, and this is what we do. And so learning that and really internalizing it is important. And those I am statements, I'm going to tell you something. That kind of stuff right there, Jerrelle, I thought was so weird when I started. I thought it was so weird. Like, talk to yourself, right? Goals. I'm like, this is some frou crap. I'm like, make a dream board. Say I am special. Stand there with your hands on. I'm telling you what, guys, the stuff works. All right, it does. It works. What it does is it starts to tell your subconscious mind something. It starts to teach you a different programming, essentially, is what it is, right? And so then you start acting differently based off of it. It feels weird at first, I'm not gonna lie. But now, you know what I do every single day? I write my goals. I say affirmations every day. I work out, and I have a home gym here at the house, and I've got my dream board. Wouldn't you believe it? All those things. In fact, I'm going to tell you a story. I didn't plan on telling this story, but I'll tell a quick story here. So when I was working special operations, so I worked in the police department in Detroit for 8 years. I was working in special operations, and I had a partner for a single night. And the partner that I had, she was telling me about all this stuff about visualizing your dreams and visualizing your goals. And I'm like, dude, just shut up. I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then a couple of years later, I'm like calling her. I'm like, hey, guess what? Hey, I'm visualizing my goals and it's actually working. She's like, I told you, dumb, right? But sometimes we think we're way too cool for that stuff, or we think that we know better. And it's like, well, if you knew better, then you'd do better, right? And so I had to learn how to sort of submit to those little bit wacky ideas, because I'm like, rich people are weird. And if I want to be rich, I probably should, I should be willing to, like, maybe think outside the box a little bit and listen to them. So just some of the things to think about. That video, if it don't cost you, it won't change you. Okay. And so that's another thing I'm going to be talking to you about tonight is, being an entrepreneur, this isn't just a Primerica thing. This is an entrepreneur thing in general. It has a price associated with it. So prior to Primerica, I did run a few businesses. In fact, I ran a concealed carry business where I was teaching gun classes like multiple days a week at a brick and mortar sort of deal. And I mean, it was all me. It was a lot of work. I mean, I'm telling you guys, being in business is tough. It's tough. And it will break you down before you win. Okay. It doesn't matter what the business is. Now, what's cool about our business is you have community, you have mentors, you have systems, you have resources that you wouldn't have access to otherwise. When I taught that concealed carry class, I had no idea how to do any of this stuff. I didn't know how to teach. I didn't know how to, book people to the classes, the websites. I didn't know how to create contracts. It was all new to me, right? All of that was brand new. I had to teach myself. And what entrepreneurship does is it like kills the version of you that is weak. It kills all the stuff off and then it rewards the one that doesn't quit. That's what happens. And so the longer that you stick around, the better you get at this business, the easier it gets. If you want the business to get better, you have to get better. And so what I want to talk to you guys is about the person that's required to win here. Okay. So when I started in the business, I did have some relative success early on. I actually made money pretty early in the business. For a lot of our people that make money now, I just recognize that most of the time people don't make money necessarily right away. Not like a lot of money, maybe a couple $100 or whatever. But my first month license, I made $8,000. And to me, I'm like, that was more than I ever made as a police officer. And so I left my job like real quick. I'm out of there, right? But I tell that to say that the rest of the journey wasn't always that easy. There were ups and downs. There were challenges. We faced a lot of challenges along the way. But just like a heartbeat, you have to have ups and downs, right? If it's flat, what happens? That's not good. If it's flat, that means you're dead. And you learn more from the downs, right? So when you have a down time, you actually learn more. Maybe your life right now, you have things that are happening that you would rather they didn't happen. Maybe you're having a tough time. Maybe you're coming into this business and you're starting at a time where things are challenging. Maybe that's the case. But you know what's cool about that is it might not seem like a good thing at the time, but you'll learn more because of it. And then when you bring in the right people, you'll actually have more to give them because you've gone through it and you learned through your own efforts and you were able to build that mental toughness, right? And so a lot of people that start here, they start and they want to be able to have success early on in the business, but they don't realize that you have to become capable of becoming that person. You have to be capable of producing the outcome consistently. And that's something that you build over time, right? VPs like Jackie and Jerrelle, the regional vice presidents, that's not built by talent, right? Talent in the book Grit, she talks about talent being how quickly you pick up on a thing. And I had somebody tell me the other day, they said, Josh, you're so talented. And I didn't correct her in the moment. I actually corrected her on our training. I said, I'm not talented, I'm skilled, right? Because I've never really been talented at much of anything, especially not when it came to this business. I wasn't talented, but I did develop a skill set. Okay. And so they're built through ownership, through mental toughness, and through something called standards. Okay. Standards are going to really make or break you in this business. So, they gave you a challenge to take on it. And not everybody's, listen, this is your business. You do what you want. I'm not saying that you need to be doing these things, but I think you should hold yourself to a standard that you do something every single week that moves your business forward. Whatever that amount is up to you. That's the cool thing about our business is you can have a different personality type. You could be moving at a different speed. Eventually you could build a business, but you need to still have standards. Okay. And so and I know you guys have been covering mental toughness, and I'm going to be all over the place a little bit today, but I want to talk about mental toughness for a second here. I know you guys have been talking about this, but I want to emphasize mental toughness because I really believe that that's a big key to our business. There was a interview with Mike Sharp. He's a $5 million earner in our business. And they said, well, what's the biggest difference that you see between people that win and people that lose in this business? And he didn't say it's their sales skills or their personality or where their background is. He says it's guts, right? And I think of that as grit or mental toughness. It's just how tough are you? How willing are you to continue to get up after you've fallen down, right? It's doing what needs to be done, whether you are afraid or not, right? It's not acting fearless. Like that's not what mental toughness is. It's not being afraid. I was afraid all the time. To be honest with you, I was coming from a police background. I would chase people through dark alleys with guns, and then I came here and all of a sudden it's like I have to call people. And that was really scary for me to get names and numbers. I didn't like any of that stuff. But I liked what the outcome looked like. And so I acted whether I felt like it or not, which was especially tough because I had a pretty good career, I mean, it wasn't a terrible career. And I knew that I kind of had to start over here, but it was sort of like if you look at a bow, you have to pull it back before you release it. I looked at this business a lot like that. And so I said, all right, well, I don't necessarily have the confidence right now. And I know most of you guys may not have the confidence, but I knew that that would come after taking action. Okay. And so like the social media thing that they were asking you to do, maybe you didn't do it because you were nervous. You thought, well, what will people think of me? And they probably won't care anyways. But once you start taking action, that's when the confidence starts to build, right? And so the people who win, they're not immune to that stuff. They're not immune to discouragement. What it is they have quick bounce back factor. They recover faster. The faster your bounce back, the better, right? Think of it sort of like being in the market, right? So if you think of the stock market goes up and down, but generally it goes up, right? You guys understand that? Like if you were to look at the market over time, let's say it gets an average rate of return of 10%. The market tends to go up, but it's going to go up 24%, down 9%, right? But if you're constantly pulling your money out of the market, there's actually a study that says if you took it out some of the very best days, say 10 of the very best days, you're going to lose most of the returns. If you took it out 30 of the best days over a 10-year period, you'll get a negative return, right? And the same thing happens in our business. People, they have a bad day. They don't feel like it. Maybe, somebody told them no, or whatever the case is. Maybe they're just in their head and they don't take action. And it's like taking yourself out of the market. And so you want to stay in as long as you can. And the faster that bounce back happens, the bigger your business is going to be. And the earlier you can get that stuff in, the bigger rewards. Okay. So I want you to think about that the next time that you're not taking action because of your feelings, right? Ask yourself, how many no's does the life that I want cost? How many am I willing to take? Right? How many disappointments are you willing to survive? See, every single future RVP that I've ever seen, every single one of them has been embarrassed at some point. Every single one had some people quit, right? I've had RVPs quit. It was funny when you guys texted me, you're like, how many RVPs do you have? I'm like, well, how many do I have or how many did I have? Right? You're like, you had RVPs quit? Yeah, my brother was an RVP and he quit. You're like, how is that possible? Listen, I've learned, guys, not to ask certain questions. Those are just mysteries of the mind. Mysteries of the mind. Why is the grass green? I don't know. Chlorophyll, I hear, right? I don't know, right? I just know that he stays at home, he doesn't work, and I'm making 400 grand a year. Staying at home, not working too, right? I mean, we built a business where I hang out in my pool all the time. I'm like, if I had to pick which one I would do, I'd probably rather have this one. It's a choice. And it's the same choice that you get. You get a choice. Do I want to go through a couple of years of really building myself, learning the skill sets, all those things? Or am I not willing to face that? Am I not willing to face that version of me? It's sort of Primerica is a lot like a vanity mirror. You know those mirrors when you turn it and it's like, dang, every single pore in your face. It's like, like this isn't good. That's what Primerica does to you. It's like, oh, my people skills weren't what I thought they were. I have poor time management. My emotional intelligence isn't what I thought it was, right? Like, oh man, I'm not as committed as I once thought I was. I don't keep my promises. And so you got to work on these things and burn off all of those parts of you that are not going to get you where you need to go. And then what's cool about it is then Primerica is easy. Primerica is like the easiest business in the world when you don't have all that baggage weighing you down. Right? Every single person that ever become an RVP, future RVPs, they've all had clients cancel. They've all thought they were going to get promoted and didn't one of the months, right? They all wondered if they were cut out for this. Every single one of them. I know I have. Every single one of them, right? But the difference is they didn't interpret that as a stop sign, right? They didn't see that adversity as a stop sign. What they did is they saw it as a part of the process. They saw it as a feature. Let's think of it like that, right? They saw it as a feature. This is part of the deal. That's just how it goes, right? And the more that you focus on those things, the worse off you're going to be. When I worked at the police department, I was working at the 12th precinct at the time. And I got an incredible opportunity to learn how to ride motorcycles. I got like they did a thing where you could go and do like, become like a motorcycle officer or whatever. And it was so awesome. Like I could not believe I got picked for it. I put in for it and I was pretty new at the time, maybe like 2 or 3 years on the job. And so a lot of those go off of seniority. And I don't know if they just didn't know or what, but somehow I ended up getting this detail. So it's a full week down on Belle Isle here in Michigan. And Belle Isle in the summer is just gorgeous. And you're riding motorcycles the whole time. It was awesome. It was like the funnest week of the whole time I worked there. But one of the things that they had you do is they had you turn the motorcycle all the way around in like 1.5 parking spaces. They had this one spot that was like it was like a curb, right? And you had to turn the bike all the way around in there. And what would happen for people was over and over again, they would go to turn and they would hit the curb. It just kept happening. Boom, they'd run into the curb, run into the curb. I tried it, I ran into the curb. They dumped the bike. And I'm like, I really don't even think it's possible to get this bike turned around in here. Like, this is kind of silly. They have us doing this. It doesn't even seem like it's possible. The instructor gets on, whips it right around in there, and you're like, what in the world? He goes, you guys keep looking at the curb. What are you doing? He says, stop looking at the curb. He goes, you need to look where you want the bike to go and it'll go there. And I'm going to tell you something. It was one of the most awkward things because your head had to crane all the way around like an owl and look right behind you. And that dadgum bike would turn all the way around. I don't know how it did it, but it's exactly what it did. You're like, that is so crazy. And since then I've gotten a motorcycle and I ride and it's like, I still remember that lesson. And you know what? It's the same way in life. When you focus on the wrong things, when you focus on the negative things, what went wrong, you run into it over and over and over again. You focus on money problems, relationship problems. Hey, listen, those things happen. It doesn't mean that they don't exist. Sometimes we tell ourselves, well, I'm a realist. I'm like, good, that's good for you. You're also broke. Maybe we need to try to like think a little differently here, right? Because sometimes what we believe is real, what we think is real is not fact. That's just what we see as real. That's just the reality that we have right now. That's not reality as anybody else. Like somebody else could be in your same situation, take different actions and have a different result. It's the truth, right? We all have the same 24 hours a day. And so switching the way that we think, not focusing on the things that we don't want, but instead focusing on the things that we do want, and then taking action every single day in that direction. Now, are you going to be 100%? I don't think so. I think you're probably going to screw up a whole bunch. You're probably going to have days where you're not 100%. I've never been positive the whole day. I'm a pretty positive dude. And I don't think there's ever been a day where I've been positive the whole time, but I work at it every single day. I think about the story I heard about the spaceship, right? A spaceship shooting off to the moon is off course like 98% of the time. Did you guys know that? It's off course like almost the entire time that it's going. But they have these like really sophisticated gyroscopes and they send information back to the computer. And then basically what it does is it just makes little course corrections all the way. And it ends up exactly where it's supposed to be. Over all those miles, it ends up right where it's supposed to be because it makes those little course corrections. You know what that looks like in our business? It looks like affirmations. It looks like goals. It looks like reading books, getting on trainings, getting close to your coach, right? It's all those little things when you don't feel like it. We're taking a trip. We have our team. We're taking them out to Tennessee. We got this big, beautiful cabin and all this stuff. It's like super cool. We got $1 million earners coming in and speaking to them, and man, it's going to be like one of the coolest things. But I don't know. I don't want to call myself a prepper, but I'm like really paranoid all the time. You know what I mean? Like I'm always like, what if this happens? What if this happens? So I have one of these deals to plug stuff into. It's like a portable generator, right? And I'm like, I'm bringing that because if we get stuck in that cabin and something happens and you can't have any power, I need to have some way to plug stuff in, right? If your phone is almost dead, if it's close to dead, you're like panicking, aren't you? Anybody ever been in that situation? You're like, oh my goodness, I gotta get my phone plugged in. You're like panicking. But we don't do that when we're drained. We don't try to plug ourselves in. A lot of times, I'm just talking for myself, my own personal experience, guys. You know what I like to do? I like to go lock myself away. I'm an eater when I'm not feeling like when I'm kind of feeling down, I want to eat. We have these self-destructive things. And so working on those little parts of you, that's what mental toughness is about. Not being perfect. There's only one dude that was ever perfect. He's gone right at the moment, right? He's only one dude. None of us are, but we can all work towards it. We can all get better every single day. Okay. And so it's not a stop sign. When you have adversity, that's just part of the process. You think about boiling water, right? If you have boiling water and you put a potato in it, what happens? And I use a lot of analogies, so I apologize if your guys are like, I wanted to learn about the KT today. Couldn't you tell me about prepaid legal? No, I'm going to talk to you about your mindset, because if you get your mindset right, the rest of that stuff happens, right? You put a potato in the water and it's going to get real mushy real fast, right? If it's boiling. Now you take that same water and you put an egg in it. What happens? It gets harder. It's the same water, right? It's the same water. So it's not your circumstances, it's what you're made of. That's the difference, right? I always think of a ship sailing, right? A ship is sailing, it could be on the same exact sea, in the same weather. It could be in the same, all the circumstances are the same, but how they shift their sails, right? One of them maybe don't even have their sails up. It's the difference of how you respond to things. Okay, one person could lose their job, and they could say, "Man, this is the worst thing in the world." Another person could say, "All right, this is a great opportunity. Just another door just opened up." It's the same thing, and it happens with everything in our lives. The reason I left the police department was because I had a lieutenant that I'm telling you guys, this lady was. If you remember, what is that movie called, Waterboy? She's like the devil. She was the devil. That's what she was. She came in and she was just so mean. The first time I ever met her, I'm like, why are you so disrespectful? I really worked to do that job. And here she is talking down to me. And in that moment, I just decided, you know what? This is not for me anymore. I'm not going to do this. I don't know what I'm going to do exactly. I'd started Primerica already, but I was brand new to it. I'm like, I'm just going to take a shot at it. And some people would look and they would just take that. Some people would be upset with it. I looked at it like, hey, this is a sign I'm supposed to do something with this business, right? And it's the decisions that you make. It's all those little decisions. How are you going to interpret something? What are you going to do about it, right? And so a big part of that is taking ownership in your business. So you ask yourself, who's responsible? Is it Jackie? Is it Jerrelle? Is it Mike? Is it Kia? Right? Is it Kelly? I hear Kelly, by the way, congratulations, working on your own, running your own appointments now. Awesome work, right? I talk to your guys as coaches. They tell me about you guys. I've been talking to Christina. I hear you're going to be an RVP. They said I hear Christina, you're going to be an RVP. They said you're going to be a killer in the business. And I talk with them and I hear how much they believe in you guys, right? And the thing about these two is that they are an ownership mindset. Okay. Everybody on this team could quit and Jackie and Jerrelle would still go and build a business. Could you say the same thing about yourself? Right. That's the difference in an owner. An owner is responsible. If recruiting is down, if production is down, if attendance is low, when people quit, who's responsible? It always rolls back to the owner, right? What an owner does is whenever anything is going wrong, they say, well, what could I do differently? Whenever anything's going right, man, my people are awesome. Man, my people are doing awesome. I'm so proud of them, right? And that's what your leaders do. So leaders take ownership all the time. They don't assign blame. They take ownership. This was something that I had to learn early in the business, is taking ownership. I had taken ownership in other areas of my life, but in our business, I remember honestly, there was a point when I just decided to go full time. So I had left my job. I had already turned in my 2 weeks, and I was having a rough time, you guys. I had a little bit of success in the very beginning doing some sales with people I knew, but then it was like, now it's reality. Now I actually have to build a business. Now I actually have to go out there and get new names and numbers, learn how to get referrals and all this stuff. And I could either decide to get bitter or I could decide to get better. It was a choice. And I remember the moment that I made the choice. It was an exact moment, right? Now you make a choice and then you act it out over time. But I remember, Mike, when I was standing in that Auburn Hills office, the Opdyke office, and if you remember that office, there was the Christie's office was right next to the door there. So there was two admin offices, and she had the one right by the door that walked out. And I remember I went to a full-time meeting. We used to do them in person, and I felt like death because I'm like, I don't know where my next deal is going to come from. I don't know where anything's. I already left my job. I had a kid on the way. I'm like, my wife is going to be having a kid any day now, and I'm like, I decided I was leaving my job. I already told him I quit, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I remember feeling sick. I remember there was this moment where I don't want to say I blamed my trainer, but there was just this moment where I kind of was feeling a little bit sorry for myself. And I know it was all over my face, right? When we look at you guys, we know when you're having a day, And the guy that was training me, he came up and he says, "Hey, what's up, man? How are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm good." I'm trying to like play tough. And he's like, "Hey, listen, you're thinking too much." He tapped me on the forehead. Here I am, a grown adult police officer. You don't put your hands on me. He tapped my forehead and he said, "Josh, you need to stop thinking so much and you got to start doing." And I had a choice to make once again in that moment. I could choose to feel disrespected, to think he doesn't know my circumstances, start feeling like a victim, pouting, or I could say, you know what? This man's right. He has a vested interest in me winning. I know that he's gone through challenges too. And look, life is hard. Challenges come up. What are you going to do about it? Right? What are you going to do about it? I real quick, Jen, you remind me so much of a girl on our team. It is like cracking me up. You two could be straight up sisters. You guys, I swear, you two, I need to get you two together. It's hilarious to me. You guys both wearing the glasses, the hair, I mean, I'm telling you, you guys would get along so well. It's hilarious. It's like it's just super funny to me. So so back to ownership. Okay. So instead of saying like, oh, well, people don't want to work, you could say, well, how can I become a better leader? How could I become better at inspiring them? Instead of saying, well, nobody recruits or nobody wants to join, you say, well, what am I modeling? What could I do differently? Maybe it's the way that I carry myself. Maybe it's my presentation. Maybe it's how maybe it's my attitude, right? When you say, well, the market's tough, like I have people, it's always interesting to me. People are like, well, right now nobody wants to set appointments because it's, the graduation season. I'm like, interesting, because they're setting appointments with me. They're setting appointments, a lot of leaders all over it's just the people No, that's a mental thing, right? We take ownership. Right. Well, nobody really needs life insurance anymore. I'm like, that's weird because Primerica, last I heard, was like a multi-billion-dollar business. And you know what we sell a lot of? Life insurance. It's like the richest industry on the whole planet? The life insurance industry. So someone must be buying it, right? But we get in our head, well, no, they're just because of work insurance. No, no, no. You just don't have the skill set to overcome it. That's skill. You can learn a skill. Everybody can learn a skill. That's ownership, right? How do I adapt? How do I get better? Responsibility, it feels heavy a lot of times until you realize it's also power. Because if it is your fault, if it is something that you can control, you can fix it too. That's a good thing. That should make you happy because you actually can control that. If it wasn't something you can control, that would suck. If you were in a ship and your sails didn't do anything but take you in the direction the wind went, that would be kind of a terrible deal. You're like, man, I really wanted to go to that island over there. That's just not the direction the wind is going. Guess what? It doesn't matter what direction the wind is going because you set the sails. That's a choice that you get to make, right? And same thing when it comes to our skill set. How well would you say that you know the fundamentals of our business? In our hierarchy, I teach fundamentals all the time. 7 fundamentals that Hector taught. I teach the same one: prospecting, appointment setting, presentations, product knowledge, overcoming objections, recruiting, getting somebody off to a fast start, right? I teach the same ones over and over and over and over and over again. Almost nobody takes time to master them. They're like, oh yeah, I got it. And I'm like, what's the objection? How do you overcome this objection? They're like, I'm like, that's one of the only 3 that you ever get. Right? Well, we need to think about it. What do you say? Right? Well, let me check with my spouse. It's like you need to know how to answer that stuff and know it like the back of your hand, know it inside and out. But most people don't do it. When I was in the academy, we had to learn this thing called the Code of Ethics. And so I couldn't recite it today, to be honest with you. I could probably recite a little bit, but it's like three paragraphs. And it was basically like, the ethical standard that you held yourself to as a police officer. So it was important to know, but it wasn't just to learn about the ethics themselves. It was to try to memorize the thing so that, one, they could jack you in front of everybody, make you do push-ups when you didn't know it. But it was just about teaching discipline, right? And man, they would have somebody up in front of that class every single day reciting the code of ethics. And if they couldn't say it verbatim, word for word, exactly, we were all doing push-ups. And they would be screaming at you at the time. They'd be having other people do push-ups. And these jokers, man, there was 30 something of us in that class. And it's like, nobody was learning this thing. And I was taking it seriously. I was going home writing it. I'm saying it out loud. I had it pinned up in the bathroom, in the kitchen, in my bedroom. I had it in my car. I'd be driving with loud music on, my windows down, screaming it out loud. And I'm like, if they call me up there, man, I'm gonna get this thing down perfectly. They called me up one time. I was the first person to get it, and they never called me again because like, all right, he's got it, right? He's got it. Now I made a lot of other mistakes, but that was one thing I got right. I took that exact same thing, Jerrelle, and I did it here. That appointment setting script, I listened to it over and over and over and over and over again. I wrote it out. I recorded myself saying it. Most people don't do that. They listen to it one time and then they go, well, I tried it. I called everybody. They didn't want anything. I'm like, you sound like the saddest human being on the planet. Poor you. Let me get my violin out. I'm going to teach myself how to play my violin and let me play it for you, right? Poor you. Nobody wanted to set an appointment with you. Now, guys, I'm not making fun of you because you might be that person, but I want you to know you got to be tough in our business. Like you got to, and you got to learn your skills. It's a skill business. Like if you don't set it the right way, look, if you had you call you, would you set an appointment if you didn't know what you were doing? Because I wouldn't, right? Like you can't blame them. Sometimes we're like mad at our family. Like they know nobody set appointments with me. I'm like, well, yeah, but you quit a week later. So they were right. You know, like they were right not to set an appointment with you. Because what if you would have sold them a policy? Who's going to help them now? Because you quit. You know, like, come on. You didn't know how to even ask them for an appointment. See, we don't sell. This is another little trick here. I'm not going to teach on appointment setting, but you don't sell the products on the appointment. You sell the appointment on the appointment setting script. That's what you do. You're selling the appointment. You're not selling the products. That's why a lot of people screw it up. They're trying to like sell them on life insurance and financial planning. It's like, no, I'm just trying to get you to an appointment. We'll talk products and services when we're on the appointment, when you're with a trainer. But before that, you're just trying to get them to the appointment. That's your whole job, right? And that means you need to learn it really well. And so if it's your fault, if you're not getting the appointment, you can fix that. You can get better at that. And so let's talk standards for a second here, okay? This is especially important. You're going to notice RVPs are people that have standards. If you have a standards, you'll eventually become an RVP. I really believe that. If you have high enough standards, you will become an RVP. Now, there are people that have skills in our business, but without the standards, you won't stay consistent and you won't do enough to get there. Okay. And so you have to have a standard. If your standard is too low, it's going to be really hard to become an RVP. So when you set your standards high, what happens is your skills will raise to match those standards. Okay. You could have a really high skill set, low standards. You'll never become an RVP. If you have high standards and low skill set, you'll develop the skill set to match it. Does that make sense? It's kind of like if you've ever seen somebody that makes a lot of money. Let's say, like if today Primerica went out of business and I was, now all of a sudden in a situation where I'm like, I better go find something. You know how much I would be making? A couple $100,000 a year at least, 300-400 grand a year minimum, right? Why? Is it because it's like I just have the best talent in the world? It's like, no, that's the standard I have now. That's the lifestyle that we have. If you're earning 400 grand a year, you ain't going to make 50 grand after that. It's not happening. Just the same way though, look, if you lose your job, right? You lose your job, you'll go find a job, you'll make about the same amount. If you make way more than what your standards are, you will whittle it down. It's the same. It works both ways. Okay. So if your standards aren't high, you need to learn how to raise them. You need to how to ratchet them up. One of them is to get around people that talk different, people that hold you to a different standard just by being around them. If you have poor health and you're around people that have great health, pretty quickly you're either going to stop hanging out with those people or you're going to change your habits, right? It's going to happen. Like eventually it's going to happen. I was one of those people when I joined Primerica, I would eat. I'd be out eating fast food all the time. And my wife one day, she says, well, I don't eat fast food. She said it in a way, it was an identity thing. It wasn't like I don't like to eat fast food or I'd rather not. I don't eat fast food. That's an identity thing. It's a choice, right? Eventually, if I spend enough time with her, it's like, well, I guess I don't eat fast food either, right? If you ask me to smoke a cigarette, hey, you want a cigarette? I don't ask you what type. What kind do you got? Because I'm not a smoker. Never have been. So that's just not my identity. Are you an RVP? Is that your standard, right? Is that your standard? And so people don't do what leaders preach. What they do is they do what leaders tolerate. Okay, so what do you tolerate? Do you tolerate being late? Do you tolerate excuses? Do you tolerate low activity, a bad attitude? Do you tolerate lack of professionalism? Which is it? Like, what do you tolerate in your business? If you're going to run a financial business, y'all, you need to be a professional. right? And that starts here. It starts right here. Like when I show up to a training, I always want to make sure I have my lighting is set up right. Now, I'm not talking if you're like just getting out of work or something like that. I understand you guys getting on trainings. I'm not telling you, you got to be like perfect, get kids, all that stuff. But look, as much as you can, right? You get your lighting set up. Look at how Jerrelle and Kia's setup is. It's faced right towards them. Their lighting is good. They got a background. You can put a fake background, you have a real background, whatever you want, right? When I first started, I had a fake background. I was in a tiny little room with a real loud air conditioner, and the dog had to sleep in there with me on a card table. Like when I started on Zoom, that's what I was working with. I'm like, oh shoot, I got to do that. I had a green kids sheet stapled to my wall so I could get a clear thing on the background because my background was a white wall right behind my back. Now we live in this big, beautiful house, out in the woods. I got my own office. It's incredible, right? But it's because we took it seriously the entire time, right from the very beginning. We figured all that stuff out. And so, how professional are you? If everybody on your team acted like you do, what kind of result would you get? Would you be proud of it? Right? Your team becomes sort of an exaggerated version of your habits. If you show up late, guess what your people are going to do? They're going to show up late or not at all, right? But if you show up and you have a high standard, pretty quickly people are going to buck up. You see this at jobs. If a supervisor has real relaxed standards, everybody else starts to relax, right? In police work, there used to be this concept called the broken windows theory. And so the broken windows theory was basically like, if there's the single piece of graffiti or broken window, it needs to be fixed right away because pretty soon, if there's some graffiti or broken window, somebody doesn't throw their trash away properly because they think, well, what does it matter? And then there's trash on the ground. There's also graffiti. And then somebody else, right? They don't care. They do something else. And before you know it, it's a problem. Now there's crime. But if you keep your neighborhood tight, there's less crime. There's less of that stuff that seeps in. It's the same thing in your culture. If you run a tight culture, people are on, they're on time with their cameras on, they got their, they're professional, all that stuff is important. So everybody on here, you should be planning on building a hierarchy, promoting RVPs. You don't want to just build producers, okay? You don't want to just build people that do sales because there's a ceiling there. But if you build leaders, the impact then multiplies, okay? It starts with you having the identity of being an RVP and then promoting RVPs, okay? So what do you think leaders should do? They should create problem solvers. They should create other leaders. That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to create other leaders. It's a compounding effect. Okay. Now I could talk literally on creating RVPs. I had a whole other part of a talk for this, but you'll see I'm pretty passionate about this. I could talk all day about these things. If you want to be big in our business, you guys, it doesn't matter where you came from. It does not matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what you did before this. None of that stuff matters. It doesn't matter who you are today on the Zoom. It matters who you're becoming. It matters the standards that you have, that you set for yourself. It matters about the actions that you take daily. And every time that you fail, that you get up one more time. Now, I don't know if you want to do some Q&A, Jerrelle, because I kind of went all over the place here, or if I know we only got 3 minutes here, so.
No, we can open it up. I mean, if people have questions and they want to stick on and you're willing to stick on, let's do it.
Yeah, yeah, and I can answer any question. The one thing I am going to say is if it's a question about your process specific to your if you guys have anything different that you guys do in your system, my thing is stick with the system that you have. It's not, the systems are not as important. It's that you have a duplicatable system, right? A lot of times people think it's the system. It's like if you hear a song, like you guys remember that song, but I don't remember who sang it, but the one for, I'll just use any song, like the one from Titanic, like it's like a Celine Dion, right? If I was to sing that song today, I'm not going to sound like Celine Dion. And so me thinking, well, maybe if I just change some of the words, maybe that'll be the thing. Right? I can't even sing a verse because I can't remember. It's like my heart will go on and on if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna hurt your feelings, y'all, if I do it. It's not gonna be good. You'll be leaving in droves. But I can't just switch the words and then make it all of a sudden a better song, right? It's like you really got to work on all the little pieces of the system that you currently have. You don't need to change the system, okay? You might like I like peaches. I get these spiced peaches. I'm a big fan of them. But I don't want to put them in like my chili. You know what I mean? Because those two things don't go together. And so sometimes people want to try to change up systems or put little pieces in there. Don't do that. But if you do have questions, I can answer them. If it's something systems, I'll probably defer to your coaches on that. But if you have a question about something that I can help you with, that I'm happy to help. That wouldn't go good together. My kid did that one time with blueberries and pizza. Blueberries and strawberries. He wanted to put it on there because he liked them both. I'm like, dude, you're not gonna like it. And he's like, I want to. I'm like, you're not gonna like it. All right, go ahead and give it a try. I don't like it. I'm like, I wonder if someone could have told you that. Interesting. It's the same thing with systems. People are like, I want to change my recruiting script. I'm like, don't do it. But I really think I heard this one with so and so. I'm like, don't do it. They do it, they get the same results. I'm like, it wasn't the recruiting script. You just suck at it. You got to get better. That's all. You just got to get better at the one that we have. They're like, no, I really like this one more. If I had to start from scratch all over again, what would be the first thing I would do? I would probably come up with a game plan, sort of like what I would do in any business. I would write out almost like a business plan. I think that's one of the things that I would do, and I would come up with a strategy for where I'm going to get my names and numbers from, and I would work real hard to get great at that. I would start with prospecting first. I mean, obviously, do your fast start, right? Like listen to your coaches and get off to a fast start so you can get a higher contract and learn the basics of the business. But if you're really going to do this in the long term, you're going to need to know the fundamentals, and you're going to have a strategy where you can do it every single day and not have to think like, what am I going to do today? Most people, that's what they're doing. Like, I wonder what I'll do today. I wonder where I'll get names and numbers from today. That's not how you run a business. If you ran a business like that anywhere else, it would fall apart. So what I would do is I'd go, all right, well, I need to have a handful of different ways I can get names and numbers consistently in the market that I need. So in a business plan, you think about any business plan. If you're going to go to me as a banker and you were trying to present to me, like, hey, I'm thinking of starting a Primerica business. Most of you guys don't think of it this way because you only have to spend $124 and you just join this thing and you can make money, not make money, and there's no real risk to it. The only risk is you don't become the millionaire and build all the freedom and all that stuff. But there's not like it's not like you open up some business and took out $100,000 loan and now you got to pay it back with interest, right? 500,000, whatever. But just pretend like that was the case. If you came to me, I would say, well, what are your plans? Like, how are you going to get clients? Like, what's that going to look like? What is your, how does that acquisition look? I would need to know that. And so, like, if I was starting this today, I would think of it like that. Like, if I was presenting it in a professional way, what it would look like. Because this is how most people look. Well, I posted on Facebook. You think I'm gonna give you $500,000 for you to tell me that you're gonna post on Facebook? I'm like, how many friends you got? I don't know, 140. I'm like, great. Well, the algorithm is probably gonna make you a millionaire then, I guess. Like, no, you probably have to come up with a whole strategy, right? So, okay, so you need more people on Facebook so that when you post, it actually gets some attraction. You also need people paying attention to your stuff. Okay, that's part of my strategy. I'm also going to probably start to professionally network. I'm probably going to have to start working on my Facebook profile. I might have to learn to do out and about prospecting. I'm going to have to learn how to get good quality referrals. I'm going to have to learn Steam. I'm going to have to learn, right? And so I'm going to have to learn these and learn how to implement them. I'm also planning on recruiting. Are you going to recruit locally? Are you going to recruit, over Zoom? What are you going to do? I need to have a strategy for that. How am I going to train those people? And so if I was going to start, I mean, I would take action. Obviously, every day I would be getting names and numbers, but I would come up with a strategy so that I could have what we call implementation intention. What that means is I already have it in my calendar, the things I'm going to do the next day. I don't care how much you can or can't do. You might be real busy and all you can do is a little bit every single day. Then do a little bit every day. Stay consistent. I do jujitsu. That's one of my favorite things to do. And I usually can go 2 or 3 times a week to the classes. And I whomp almost everybody in that whole school. And that's not like talking myself up. I'll tell you the reason why. Because when I go there, I'm really intentional, right? A lot of people, they show up, they go to the class, they do the stuff that day, whatever they're teaching, and then they go home and that's it. I study the heck out of the stuff. I have instructionals that I watch. I go in and I practice with a very intense purpose. I want to learn this. I take notes afterwards. What could I change? All these things, right? Yeah, that wouldn't be good, man. That wouldn't be good. It's the same thing in our business. I looked at it, I said, okay, well, I'm not getting results in this area. What can I do a little bit better? What's the thing that I could do to improve it? Not go, oh, it doesn't work. When I would go into the police precincts, I would get names and numbers there. The first couple times I went, probably the first dozen times, I never got any numbers. And so some people go, well, I guess it doesn't work. No, I just had to change little things. Okay, well, putting out a sign-in sheet doesn't work. Okay, well, then I got to do this. Okay, that didn't work. And now I got to try this. Okay, that kind of worked, but didn't work that well. Now I do this a little different. And before you know it, I would get like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 names and numbers every time I went in. Then I would have to learn how to set appointments with them, right? And so you start with a plan and then you just make little micro adjustments. That's what I would do if I was just getting started. Yep. Yeah, you don't just judge yourself based off of the results you get today because you're going to suck today. You know, I mean, you're going to suck. Like some of you guys, maybe not so bad, but like everybody sucks at least a little bit when they start. You know, it's like learning how to walk. You know, I mean, you're going to be awkward. That's the way it works. And that's totally normal. That's what it's supposed to be like. But you ain't supposed to stay on the ground forever like some kid that can't hold their head up. You know, it's like eventually you got to hold on to the dang table and try that and get out on your own. You know, Kelly out there working on her own. I imagine you're going to have a few people telling you no. Hey, good. Awesome. You know, now you can learn from it. Like, what can I do next time? They said this. How do I handle that? Keep notes on it, right? Guys, in a couple of years, you could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've been making over $250,000 a year for like I don't know, 5 or 6 years. I haven't run personal appointments. I mean, outside of a couple here and there in years. Haven't set appointments. It's incredible. Couple hard working years of building stuff up. And then that was that. I was like, dang, that's pretty cool. Like it worked just like they said it would. It didn't feel like it when I was in it. It sucked some of the days. But after a little while, I got really good at it. Right? Any other questions?
You
I know you
talked
guys didn't know.
said something really, really clutch when you were talking about the hard working years, right? Um,
Mhm.
what does that look like? I know sometimes people think that it's a certain timeline. Can you talk about mindset and doing what it takes as long as it takes in order to, get to where you want to be?
Yeah. Yeah. So like everybody comes in at different levels, right? Like some people come in and they're like a 3, and some people come in and they're in a 6, you know, and what I mean by that is like maybe you come in and you had some people skills stuff before, management experience, sales skills, something like that. Those things are going to help you. So you already sort of dealt with some of the crap that you'd have to deal with here before you came here. So when you're judging against other people, because sometimes we do that, like, well, that person had so much success. Don't do that because you're the best control for yourself. You think of like a scientific experiment, right? A scientific experiment, you think about it, you have like a petri dish, and you got 2 petri dishes, and we have the exact same thing, and then we add something in there. Like there's got to be a control. You can't have all these outside circumstances. And we do that in our business a lot, where you're like, well, so and so is just killing it, and they did it. Well, yeah, but do you know what they had to do beforehand, or how much maybe more free time they have, or whatever the case is? That's not an excuse for you. That's just the reality. It's what it is, right? But what you can do is you can look at yourself and am I getting better every single day? In my experience, it's usually somewhere between 2 and 5 years, but it could be more or less. It really depends of real consistent effort. Now, you can make money the whole time. I'm not saying like 2 to 5 years to get in the green. I'm saying 2 to 5 years where you're like, okay, I can breathe, business is running. That's just reality of business, you guys. It's and then what's cool about it is it continues to multiply. If you do a good job training and developing people, I mean, your income will just keep going up. We'd be at $1 million a year right now if I had stayed working. But I just enjoyed life too much, spending time with my kids. I mean, I do jujitsu all the time. We're traveling all the time. Like, it's just an incredible life, right? It's awesome. But there were a couple years where we sacrificed. And what that meant was maybe I had to say no to some stuff. That meant that I had to stay consistent setting appointments. My people skills weren't all that great. I used to make people cry a lot, was one of my things. It was a thing that happened often. My recruits would cry a lot. And I'm like, dang, these people are pansies. And then I realized, like, no, you're just a jerk. Like, that's the problem. All right, got to be a nicer person, right? You can't talk to everybody like they're a new recruit in the police department. You got to actually talk to them like, like a new recruit in Primerica. And so I had to learn that skill set. Some of you come here and you already have better people skills. Cat, you had a cat literally crawling all over you. I have to imagine you're probably pretty good with people. You're probably a pretty nice person if I had to guess, right? Christina's got a cat climbing up on her right now, right? I feel like cat people tend to be like, you can kind of talk to people, you know? My cat's always trying to hang out with me. I'm like, get away from me. I'm like, I don't want you around me, man. But you learn that stuff. And so like it literally it takes a couple years. And it's hard work and it's a consistent work. Like you got to do it for a while, man. She wants dinner. That's funny. My cat's got 3 legs and she's a bully. She likes to come up and just bully you with her face. I'm like, get out of here, man. Like what's going on? I'm just trying to, like every time I try to sit down, I swear, and I'm like, I'm the least nice person in this house, and you always want to bully me. My goodness, I just know, she's trying to get to that heart of yours. Um, so yeah, I think a couple years, it really does take a couple years. You're not going to do it overnight because it's sort of like, if you're pregnant, you're pregnant, it takes 9 months or so to have a kid. Maybe you have a preemie or whatever, but it takes about that long. That's just how long it takes. And then once the kid's born, the kid grows up, right? You ever like have like a relative where the kid's, like one age and then maybe you don't see him for a while and you see him again and they're like, geez, what are you feeding that kid? Like, what did you do? It's like, that's just what kids do. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's what you guys are going to do in the business. If you stick around, you're going to get better at this thing. It's going to get easier, right? And someone will come back and they'll be like, dang, Christina, she was the girl that was brand new on the last one. She's an RVP now. Well, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's been a year and she's, crushing it and she's been working real hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's what happened. She got her securities license. She worked with clients. She's training people. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Right? I think Kia about like when we first met, like you said, you don't know me from anybody else. I knew I wanted to win. I knew what I had in my heart. I saw a lot of other people around there. I knew not everybody was going to do it. But man, I knew what I had in my heart. I knew what I was willing to do. And some of you guys, I think, have the same thing. I think some of you guys, you hear what I'm saying, you're like, man, I just want it. I really want this to work. And if you put in the work, it's going to. It really will. This thing will pay off. It's done it for so many other people. Why not you? Why shouldn't it work for you, right? So that's that. I don't know if that answers your question. I know you'd be like, how long should it take? And I'm like, you want me to just say 5 years? And then I'm talking about cats bullying me and, you know, peaches and chili and stuff.
No, that was absolutely perfect because that's what I wanted you to bring out. We all start at a different point in place, and it takes different people, it takes a little bit longer depending on what all you need to work on and what that mirror looks like that you were talking about when you hold it up in front of your face. So,
Mhm.
Josh, just thank you so much for everything that you've done for us tonight, all the pouring in that you have given, and the jewels that you dropped today. Like, we are truly appreciative of everything that you do, and that you took your time out with us tonight.
Absolutely excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Guys, drop in the chat if you found value in what Josh dropped tonight. Put value in there so he knows that his time was well spent. Absolutely. And so, guys, thanks so much for being on. And every site stayed on that was logged on. And so, with that being said, that means that you are really, really was in tune with what Josh was dropping. And then also that you take your time here seriously, right? So, the best thanks that we can give to Josh is implement some of the things that he was talking about and make sure that we continue to work on our mindset. And with that, we will end our training tonight and tune in tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. for those of you who are getting on the morning calls. And with that, you guys